Thank you for coming tonight. It's always a pleasure when I get to share some thoughts. I have a little notebook that at night when I'm studying or listening or basically anytime I'll make little notes in here and write thoughts and ideas and I thought I would share some of that with you tonight and hope that you find it a bit interesting. Tonight's lesson is about fireflies. What do you think of when you hear the word firefly? For me, I think of a young man in grade school, my oldest, who sang a song called Fireflies. And it was, as my mother would say, very special. But that comes into my head every time I hear the word fireflies. The next thought that comes into my head, I can remember when I was the same age as that young boy a long, long time ago. I can remember sitting in this very church, waiting for services to end, and running out the door and either into the front or back into the field, and looking out into the field and seeing lights. And I don't know if it's just the passage of time or if something's happened to the fireflies, but it seems like when I was a young boy, that whole field was filled with fireflies. And you would see the sporadic flashing of lights. Well, did you know there are over 2,000 species of fireflies, or lightning bugs, depending on where you're from? But there's one very special species in Indonesia. Now, I was talking with one of my patients about this today. They were asking me what's going on, and I said, I'm giving a lesson at church tonight. You should come on over. This is what's going to be about. She didn't show up, so she was not interested in fireflies. But that's okay. She's going to have a root canal next time she comes in because she didn't come in. I'm just kidding. I kid. But we were talking about fireflies, and she said, well, did you know that in Tennessee, there's a type of firefly that blinks, but it blinks in waves. So as you go out and you look out over it, you see just this wave of light run through the air. As a matter of fact, I did know about that. I said, but you should hear about these Indonesian fireflies. She said, I didn't know about the Indonesian fireflies. I didn't know they had fireflies in Indonesia. Pretty sure they have fireflies everywhere, but I don't know. Probably not in Antarctica. But the Indonesian fireflies are unique because they blink in total synchronization. So in other words, the whole mass of them light up at exactly the same time and shut off at exactly the same time. Science doesn't really know how this occurs, but if you go to Indonesia and you look and you watch out over the fields, you will see a massive light and then it dies back down. And then a massive light and then it dies back down. It's these fireflies that all synchronize the blinking. And what scientists have found is because of this synchronization, their population growth is about 80% higher than any other group of fireflies, because they synchronize at the same time. They believe it allows them to see each other easier. And so they grow at an 80% clip faster. So now, I know Dennis will appreciate this because now he has a cool random fact to pull out, possibly win a Trivial Pursuit game someday. But why would I tell you this? Well, in Matthew chapter 5, verse 16, it says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. We're all called on to shine our own light. And in doing this, we show the world our character, our heart, our dedication by shining our own light. And when we shine our light by ourselves, we are an incredibly powerful force. Matthew chapter 17, verse 20, it says, if you have faith as a grain of a mustard seed, you shall say unto this mountain, remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible to you. He's pointing out that based on our faith, our belief, we can do amazing, amazing things. Philippians chapter 4, verse 13 says, I can do all things through Christ which strengtheneth me. And so we see when we shine our light, we can have an incredible impact. But let's look at a few other verses. Hebrews chapter 3 and verse 13 says, "But exhort one another daily while it is called today, lest any of you be hardened through the deceitfulness of sin." Romans chapter 12 verse 10 says, "Be kindly affectioned to one another with brotherly love, in honor, preferring one another." You may say, well, what does that have to do with anything? Well, when we tie it into Ephesians chapter 4 verse 16, "From whom the whole body, fitly joined together, compacted by that which every joint supplieth, according to the effectual working in every measure of every part, maketh increase of the body unto the edifying of itself in love." When I shine my light, when I proclaim my Christianity, I can do amazing things. But when we shine our light together in unity through God's Word, being fitly joined together, we become an unstoppable force. We are, in effect, a congregation, a group of Christians who can do the impossible, can move mountains. We all become working together, just like those fireflies. Exactly the same time, they light up. When the world looks at me, when the world looks at you, when the world looks at us, they ought to see a light of unity. They ought to be able to look and say, "Oh, I see. Wow, amazing." As a congregation, as a group of Christians, we need to decide to shine our light together. We need to help each other. We need to pray for each other. We need to check on each other. We need to work with each other. And in doing so, when we all agree to shine our light based on the promises that Christ has given us, we can do the same thing that they did in Acts chapter 17 and verse 6. When the city leaders came, and it records, these people have turned the entire world upside down, and now they've come to our city. Wouldn't that be great if the people in Independence looked at this church and said, that church has turned the entire world upside down, and now they're here? It's an amazing thing when we all decide to shine our light together. If we can help you to start shining your light today as an individual, or if maybe the light's dimmed a little bit in the work of this congregation, either way, if we can help you, please come forward.